And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to a very special, very interesting, first ever call to action PSA of sorts. It's not really a segment or something that's going to happen very often, but we're just going to come really briefly and be very candid with us. So you're tuning in, probably wondering what the hell this is. This is a quick little episode to kind of just talk about who we are as a podcast, how we run as an organization, and kind of give you all behind the scenes look on how Call to Action has been structuring and working itself and making everything run recently. Before I kind of get into the organizational chart, I have it all wrote out right here. Don't pause it real quick and get all that. Don't worry, I'll hold it up later. So we'll just kind of break down why we decided to leap into a much more organization structured being that we are. And then we'll kind of get into the structure, who does what, and then we'll kind of transition from there. But I guess I'll pass it up to Paul above me, who is also hosting with us. Also with me is Kelsey and Alex, of course, all very big contributors to this podcast. Not that there's not a lot of us that aren't contributing something. But Paul, why don't you start us off? Why did we get into this whole structured thing to begin with?
Well, we have a lot of people in our little podcast here. A lot of
family,
people.
correction, family.
Family. The Action family. There's a lot of people, a lot of hosts to wrangle. They kind of became very chaotic. We had a hard time organizing everything. We just throw up different segments, and we weren't getting very far as who's going to be on what. We had no consistency. Without consistency, there's no draw. We discovered that after talking to some people in New York and Houston and even beyond, that a lot of times people will love having people to watch. So we decided that if you love our personalities, I mean, you love some of us, you love others of us more. Who knows? Maybe you want to see me more. Maybe you want to see Kelsey more. Maybe you want to see Alex more. Maybe you want to see Dylan more. Maybe even you want to see the gaping wound more. Who knows? I'm sorry, James. We love James. But whoever it is, we decided that we were going to develop our own segments of the podcast, different shows to have. So therefore, you all have time to see each of us, and you know where to find us. Now, does that mean it's always going to be that way? No, of course not. We're going to pinch it here and there as we can, because that's the good thing about having as many hosts and as many interactive family members as we have. But you'll have a consistency to look forward to, and you can gravitate towards whatever you want to gravitate towards. Does that make sense, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Sounds good to me.
Sure. Kelsey, Alex, do you want to talk a little bit on, I guess, some of the feedback we were hearing from Orlando, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we were there, we were chatting with a bunch of our friends and, looking for feedback. And some of the things that they really mentioned is that they were some things they liked, some things they didn't like as much. And, there wasn't anything in particular. They were like, this fucking sucks, thankfully. But it was just like something that we just kept hearing very consistently is consistency, amongst the layout, having a schedule. Hey, I want this every Thursday or on Saturday nights or whatever the situation is. Consistency with hosts as well. So that was definitely an effort we are trying to actively implement over these past several months, weeks, really. So it's not perfect right now, obviously. However, it's definitely an active work in progress that each of us individually, we're working on our own projects while we work together as a family with Call to Action, but also with our individual shows, channels that we're running with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I heard is people like us and all of our personalities, and they wanted to get to see us more often. And also they'd be like, hey, you did this once. We really liked it. And then you never did it again. I would love it if you did it more often. So we're like, oh, we didn't know. Okay, we'll do that again. So yeah, we definitely got all kinds of feedback we weren't even expecting, really. So it's been helpful.
Right. And I think that for us, kind of behind the scenes, we wanted to sit here and kind of feel like we had so much ambition and direction, but with so many hosts, it was kind of hard to sit there and put us all into one singular direction. So what we essentially ended up doing is that we had a small democratic vote. Democracy reigns supreme. Alex is upset because she didn't get put on top. But
one day I will be at the top now.
So this is an unofficial name. It's always what we refer to it as. But just for the start of this, we'll discuss the Ghai Council. So the Ghai Council is what I just aptly termed myself, Paul, and Danny Joy. There we go. God, I know, guys, it's late at night. Sorry. So me, Paul, and Danny are what we just termed as Ghai Council. That's just an unofficial term. We just slapped it on there. But in short, what we do is that I take over the podcast and they try to stop me from doing it. And
Pretty much.
that's no, I kid. So a lot of it was that. So a lot of it was that we wanted to have at least 2 or 3 people that one represented, the cumulative thoughts of all of our mini hosts on the podcast, but also that kind of had the thinking and the rational brain way to sit here and say, all right, we're going to be in charge, but we're not going to be power hungry managers. We're going to work with you guys. This is just to say, we don't want to have meetings with 10 to plus people at a time to kind of figure out every little small thing. Just to have 3 people that said, all right, let's figure it out. Cool. Pass it down. And then we all kind of work together with it.
Well, the representatives are like no taxation without representation. Now, where's the representation?
Yeah. We had a very long and dramatic vote, and it ended up being Paul, Danny, and myself. So that is, just very briefly what the High Council does. So if at any point you want to sit there and cancel it, you can DM me I'm kidding. Yeah, Nico's tuning in. Where do I DM him? Where do I cancel the show? Right. So no, we don't cancel or anything like that. But as leadership, we all do kind of separate things. We're all obviously hosts on these shows as well. Paul, you kind of work as your own, how would you term your other extra perks of this job? Before we get into the showrunner, kind of as the PR perk, or not PR, but.
Okay. We decided that really recently, that we have a lot of connections with the fan base, with the pros a bit. When I work with Action Industries, I get to talk with Ben and Drew a lot. And we need a place where people can get to contact us for whatever show. It just, instead of contacting anybody left and right, it just makes it more chaotic. So we're going to put this forth now that the best way to get in touch with us about anything involved with the show will be to contact me. I'll be the focal person that you can either on Facebook, on Twitter, email if you want, whatever you want to do, however you want to get in touch with me. I'll even give myself, I probably won't do that on air, but anything you want to do, contact me. And then I can filter it down to the proper people. You want to talk about Schmo Bates or whatever, we can filter it down to Alex, talk about it, which we'll get into anyways. But I've already started doing that with a lot of our guests on the shows anyway at this point. So it just makes sense to have one focal person to take that on, so to speak. So if you ever have anything you want to talk about the show, advice, suggestions, you want to get on, you want to have us do something with your show, get a hold of me and I will filter it out to the appropriate parties, the council and everyone else, and we will get back. And I will get back to you after I filter it back upwards.
Right.
I am the filter.
And of course, if you reach out to any of the other podcast members, that works as well, because not everybody's going to watch this video and know, I'm going to contact Paul to make sure I want to get to debates or into any of this. Obviously, Alex and various people work all of the social medias on all of the platforms. So if you message somebody, think just our official podcast, you could get one of 3 or 4 different people. And there's no shame in that. That's fine. We'll figure it out. But this is kind of us also saying to the podcast as a whole, hey, if you're trying to get a hold of any one of us or other versions of us, contact Paul. And Paul will put us to the right parties. Or if you just want to contact Paul to say hi, contact Paul. So
I'm
pretty nice.
Paul's a pretty likable fella. So
exactly.
Cool.
we're biased, obviously, but still. Because he is on the High Council.
Only on the High Council are you able to
High Council.
I have
The
the
High
ground.
Council over there.
Yeah.
I have the high ground.
The High Council, the High Table, the Jedi Council, the Action Council, all of the above.
High Sparrows.
Yes.
Okay.
Senate.
I am the Senate.
Oh gosh, that was the first thing I started. We're not going to get behind the scenes that far behind the scenes.
The Duel of the Fates theme going.
Yeah. So, in brief, that's kind of what we do as High Council leadership. Blah 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 blah. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I can fire anybody or anything like that. Except Alex. Alex, I have to unfortunately tell you this evening that I'm kidding. You're
Special luck with your future endeavors.
live. We're doing it live, everybody. I'm just so. Anyway, on to the next part of our structured segment. We have showrunners. So showrunners include these people right here. Now, let me kind of break down into what we all do. Showrunners as a role specifically, there are a handful of shows on the Call to Action podcast. Myself, I'm specifically the host and showrunner of Hotcakes and Call to Asian. Now, Call to Asian, you haven't seen in a minute. Stay tuned. We're coming back. We're rebranding ourselves. I'm going to be back here probably next week, actually. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be spicy. We wanted to do something different that was different from the regular Call to Action stuff and not just having an Asian cast on it. But yeah, so we had to restructure that. Nat is my co-host for that. So if you watch Chill, which Paul will be plugging here shortly, Nat's going to be my Paul, so to speak. He's going to be my co-host and moderating chats and all that. So stay tuned for that. Also, you can also recognize me as the Hotcakes host, Asian cake leader right there in the title. Hotcakes, very strictly, that is just one of those things where I wanted to have a short form segment where I pop on there, talk about some Schmodown related stuff, rather it be not necessarily drama, but, kind of just maybe some informational stuff that's worth listening to or talking about or something like that. Sometimes at its core, I want it to be a love letter from like us as a podcast to the fans and say, hey, well, here's our take on this. Here's our thought on this, whatever's kind of going on. And I say us whenever I really mean me, but I'll usually bring other of our hosts on for that one to kind of talk about whatever is the hot cake for that time.
Mm-hmm.
This could easily be a hot cake. This is a hot cake form, but by nature, I'm not going to want to put this on the title. There's nothing hot about this. This is just us talking about business.
Oh, we're all hot.
We're hot, but it's
we're all baking hot, batter hot, but we
it's a cooking.
Yeah, there's nothing extra special about that today.
You don't got any sprinkles or syrup on these cakes,
No whipped cream, no nothing spicy, no chocolate chips in these cakes. This is just hard facts. Yep. This is finely cooked bacon. It's on the plate. It's always there. You know it's coming, and it's always consistently good. That's what you get from this little thing right here.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, off the top of my head, guys, I'm constantly. Anyway,
that's you're a big man on campus.
Yes. Paul, why don't you kind of explain the stuff that you show run and kind of go from there?
Sure. Well, Chilled Action is our show. Danny actually came up with this idea a little bit while back, and she contacted me, and we kind of developed it from there. She had the idea of having an interview show. And where we went from there was we developed we want to have a show with interviewing competitors. It's all been pretty much competitors so far, but the idea initially was also to have on other Schmodown community members, whether they involved in some way. We might even decide as we develop, we're still kind of developing things, we might have on other podcasters at some point. But for right now, it's mainly been people associated with the Schmodown in some way, competitor-wise. Danny terms it as a second date. We know all these people generally already. We've already had contact with them in some shape or form. But now we're going to sit down and have that second date with them where we can kind of delve in a little deeper. It's our non-kayfabe show. It's definitely nothing to do with kayfabe. I mean, we'll throw a little shot in here and there, but overall, we want to know who these people are. The idea was partially to go non-Schmodown to get more into their real lives. But as things do, we develop it. It's been still skewing a little more towards Schmodown because that's what we all love talking about. And that's how we all interact with each other. So we get a little bit of both. Play a little games, play little segments here and there. We've had a lot of success so far. It's every Sunday and or Monday, depending on the scheduling. That's the main thing about our show. Is got to figure out when people can come in, and if it's important enough, we will try to make it work for a Tuesday afternoon. Like so when we had Christian Harloff on, that was kind of a thing. We said, okay, we'll make it work on Tuesday. But we have a couple great people still coming up. I'll plug it while we're here. Why not? Tomorrow, well, actually, you've already seen this this week. When you watch this, we'll have just had on Robert Parker, who is a highly touted fan league member who has been mentioned by many people involved in the Schmodown. So I have a feeling he might be somewhere involved in the community soon. That's my guess. Beyond that, we also are in contact with Brianne Chandler, might be coming on soon. We had to reschedule Paul Ayama. But that's basically the kind of thing we're going to have. We're going to have a 2-on-1. It's me and Danny, and we have a rotating third member of our podcast. Whoever seems to fit the best. We try to make the best camaraderie between the third guest. We want the third guest to be just as important as the other two, because they are. So it's the three of us, and we host, and that's pretty much how it goes down.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just chill in a nutshell, which, as we're kind of going through the shows, you're kind of starting to see, they're the kind of creative minds behind it, the ones who are scheduling it, planning it. These are our babies on this one. Speaking of babies, baby Kelsey, why don't you talk a little bit about your show that you run and all that, co-host and co-run?
Okay. All right. Well, recently I have taken over being a co-showrunner with James Spence for the Call to Action podcast, the main show. We are going through a lot of rebranding. You will see a bunch of changes. Already seen some that I think have gone over pretty well. James and I, one reason I think we've kind of taken over as the main two showrunners of that show is he's been with the podcast since the beginning, and I'm kind of a fresh set of eyes. So we kind of come at it from both angles. We're trying to make it fresh, but also keep true to what that podcast is supposed to be. So I am excited to see for the changes that will be coming up with that podcast, definitely. Another side thing that I also do as not just as a showrunner, but I kind of help the other showrunners is I do the scheduling. So I kind of work with all the shows just to make sure we're not trying to schedule on top of each other and be like, we're going to have 3 shows at the exact same moment. So that's been fun because we all went to schedule at the exact same time sometimes. But yeah, so that's where my main focus has been, is on the main podcast. However, we have another project, which I'm kind of the point of contact for, but really it's a group effort, which is Ladies Night. Me, Danny, and Alex as a group all pretty much equally work on that show. And the concept of that show is what we would do if we were in the house together on a Saturday night. What would we be doing? We'd be drinking alcohol, watching Schmodown, and girl talking while we're watching. And we want to invite you guys to get to be a part of that because we love doing it. It's something we look forward to when we get a chance to just be the 3 of us hanging out. So that's our concept. So we like to watch reruns. So that's what we're doing. We're watching old Schmodown matches that we know and love that we don't have to pay while drinking. That we don't have to pay full attention to because we know it so well. So we can have that conversation.
Drinking games are usually involved.
We do drinking games. We get really drunk and start
White Claw.
Lots of White Claw, and we start crying because we love each other so much.
That's all it is. It's a White Claw ad. Let's be honest.
Yep. And Ladies Night, the plan is to be a bi-weekly show, so it won't be all the time, but when we're here, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So.
Right, and I forgot to mention during mine because, of course, Kelsey's a better host than me on this one. Frequency for all of our shows is something we probably could talk. Obviously, Chills. Pretty weekly. Hotcakes, I kind of just do hotcakes whenever it feels relevant. Call to Asian, probably going to be bi-weekly whenever I start back up on that one again, hopefully. We're going to be in the off-season, though, so we'll kind of see how it goes from there. Speaking of my shows, Kelsey's shows, and Paul's shows, Danny, why don't you talk? Danny. Well, Alex, why don't I never get this camera right? There we go. Okay. Alex, why don't you tell us about your shows?
There you go. That's right here. Hey, I'm Alex, aka Mac Daddy on here, and I do a few things with Call to Action. I host Schmobate. I host that, and I like to do it every week. And it's a not movie fight. It's a Schmodown, a fight themed debate show. I have 2 competitors along with a co-host, ideally someone from the C2A crew. And, we debate a whole bunch of weird stuff, everything from like what should be the Schmodown mascot, going into TV, or which Schmodown competitor would be the best to go on a cross-country road trip with, weird, fun questions like that. So if that's something you're really interested in. If you like fighting and debating, I'm your girl. Please check me out. And that would be really dope. But also, I personally run the Call to Action Twitter as well. You guys are ridiculous.
What?
But like I mentioned, I personally run the Call to Action Twitter feed. So I do a lot of the reacting to you guys, liking, retweeting, all that good stuff. So if you're interacting with us on Twitter, 98% of the time, it's going to be me. James accidentally likes to pop in there on accident every once in a while. And then I'm like, get the fuck out of here. This is my turf. But, it's mine. And, Ladies Night, we like to do that. We try to get a lot of talent on there. We just had Laura Kelly that's going to be competing in the Star Wars for the Star Wars belt here pretty soon. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, a lot of us individually like to reach out to talent and have these relationships with competitors and just Schmodown personalities in general within the community. So it's definitely very much a group effort for a lot of us, obviously.
Right. And Paul, do you kind of want to cover Danny's parts on what she does, but she isn't here at this time. She's on a hot date, y'all. I'm going
to we're to find out all about it later on. I was going to say, just a real quick one I forgot about Chill is Danny is the main host, and I basically started out as the, like what Dylan mentioned about Nat, is that I do the moderating of the chat and things like that. But I also just ask a lot of questions because I can't shut up anyway. But also what Danny does is Danny is also now going to be kind of heading up the reactions. As you know, we are Schmodown after. It's always an after show and a reactor show, so we got to react to the matches. And we found that even with 11 of us, it was or whatever how many we are, it was hard to find scheduling for all of us to do something. At one point, I think I did one solo because we just had to get it done. So we try to put somebody. We're going to put Danny in charge of that as far as organizing who's going to do what. Of course, this is going to probably better go into place as next season as they get more consistency, because right now it's just all hands on deck when things go live versus when it's on the Patreon, and there's just seems like every day there's a new match. So, but Danny will be put in charge of that as far as show running that as far as that goes as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so I mean that kind of lays out all the showrunners and stuff like that. One great made graphic made from Dylan Camacho over at the High Council. We got
big budget, guys. Big budget. This is why I need the super chats eventually.
This is structurally our organization right here, and we'll kind of get into this part right here where we talk about all of our hosts. Look at how many of us there are. Do you see that? Do you see why we had to have leadership and organization? There's 11 of us. What the hell?
There's a lot of voices, a lot of strong voices.
A lot of strong opinions.
And just coming up what Kelsey said earlier, a lot of us are newer to the group. Like Kelsey and I, we started maybe a month or two apart. I started just like I feel like just a few weeks before you started, Kelsey, I want to say. But Denuzio, I know you've been one of the front runners for this for I feel like ever, and same for James and
Danny.
Just something to keep in mind. Our show has evolved so fast in such a short amount of time, and it's going to continue to evolve. And inevitably, when I do become the part of the High Council, inevitably.
Campaign starts now.
I'm not gonna lie.
Mac Daddy 2020.
Well, things just change, and our priorities change, and our schedules change. So a lot of things are going to be, and we have a lot of goals, that we want to hit here before the end of the year and early next year. Speaking of which, something I'm in charge of personally is doing exhibition matches.
Yep.
Forgot about that. I do exhibition matches. I'm going to be hosting one here in December for holiday exhibition matches with Alonzo Duralda.
Woo!
Bam! Sorry. Excited. But yeah, we have so many goals that each of us are working on individually, especially early in the next year, because we have a little award show coming up in January.
If anybody thinks that during the off season that we aren't working still, we're showing them why that we're going to win this award this year is because we've been putting in the work 24/7.
And we have developed a lot. And Alex actually mentioned, I just want to touch base real quick. Alex said I've been in charge for a while, but I've only been in charge half the time as well. Not in charge, just been around for a while. I mean, the podcast started with James, Danny, I think Colleen, Melissa. Some people weren't even really with us anymore. They've stepped back and moved on to different things. We're a constantly evolving podcast. It seems like you can actually go back and see where, okay, these two people left and these two people showed up. And that's why we've had new people coming on. Just last week or a couple weeks ago, we had new people come on, which we're going to get to. So it's just an ever-evolving podcast. We need to kind of just wrangle, make sure we're going the right direction, make sure we're all on the same page. Because, when you're doing one person as a reactor, you don't have to answer that. You just answer it yourself. When there's 11, 12, 13 people, there's going to be some disagreements about how things should go. So we have to make sure we massage it through and
right.
We're all good.
So kind of coming back to this, just because it's a nice little helpful list and reminder. So these are roughly all of our hosts on this one. So we got Asterisk down here, but obviously myself, Danny, Paul, Alex, Kelsey, James, Nat. Danny costs whenever he's able to. He usually faces technical difficulties, but he's always around. Love you, Danny.
Always in the chat.
Oh yeah, always. As a nice little asterisk, we have additional hosts / consultants. So this is where we kind of talk about Belford and Jarvie. Belford and Jarvie are obviously their hosts. They're part of the show. They make this thing run, but they kind of come on as needed. They're not going to be always frequent, consistent hosts. They're not going to be running a special show or anything until me and Belford run a show eventually. That's being joked about, but we'll make it happen over.
That's funny. Belford and I have done the same thing. We're going to do one called Generally Speaking at some point, I think is what we're going to call it. But
so Belford's show running idea is just planning on making shows, but never actually following through with them. So
that could be.
We're calling you out now, Belford. Make a show.
You can only see Belford on that one. Jarvie, our homeboy Jarvie, he just lives in a terrible time zone, so it's just
pretty much it.
That's the only reason why
he needs to abide by our rules.
Right. And then recently we put Jake the Bank Yachiavetta, onto the show. He is more of a consultant / our new graphics designer. So if you've been seeing all those sweet new graphics on our thumbnails, that is 99% Jake's work, 1% us taking random pictures of me holding a spatula.
That's a dope picture. Okay,
It's a dope picture.
Great picture.
Jake is also kind of our hype man.
Yeah,
Jake is definitely a hype man.
He is like the official hype man of Action Army in general.
Action Army in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's been kind of just a creative brain behind the whole Army as a fan base. So, of course, with us being the official podcast, so to speak, of the Army, that, of course, Jake was going to be involved in some way with that.
Well, I mean, he has been like low-key part of C2A for a while. Not only as a fan, obviously, he's been so involved. But I mean, like, he has been like very vocal about like helping out in any way. If we're going to a live event, is there anything he can help out with? Or when we were in Orlando, technically it was prior to him officially joining, but he was already helping out with like the contest that we put together and things like that, and making sure we're all had everything together for the tickets. I mean,
and he also makes sure we're well with liquid at these shows. He provides a lot of liquid refreshments. Make sure everybody. We
stay well hydrated throughout all of our stuff.
He's more than an alcohol ticket, I have you know.
Oh, he is. I'm saying that's a benefit also as well. So I mean,
right. So yeah, in short, that's kind of our brief structure again. Again, here's a wonderful graphic made by me, not by Jake. He probably would have made one if I gave him time for it, but I didn't tell him to. So it's holidays. I'm not going to make him work on Thanksgiving for the podcast on that. But that's kind of our rough breakdown on who we are as Call to Action, as podcast, what we all do. So if you want to talk to somebody about being on Hotcakes or Schmo Bates or all those things, then you kind of have an idea who to talk to now. Talk to Paul. He'll send you to whoever. And we'll figure it out from there. But before we start to wrap up on our lovely behind-the-scenes look at Call to Action, this future award-winning podcast, feel free to put that banner up, Paul. I'll wait. Future award-winning podcast.
Look at that lower third. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this lower third cutting off right here. Wait, hold on. Okay. Perfect. All right. Yeah. So, anyway. Slow down, Astra!
That was the other one.
Yeah, that's the other. You can talk to me more about that live and all of us at Spectacular. So I kind of want to plug this into a PSA thing as well, not only just for behind the scenes, but to say we are all going to be at Spectacular. Well, not all of us as the host, but at least everybody in this. Yes. Most of the podcast will be there at Spectacular Live for varying lengths of time and everything like that. So I wanted to sit there and say, obviously, we have the expo beforehand. If you're able to make it into that, or if you have the ticket for it, killer, come out, come see us. If you see us out, we should be hopefully wearing all of our merch, guys. Wear our shit.
I'm wearing it. Yep, that's the plan.
I'm wearing my shirt. Alex is going to wear whatever she's going to wear. I don't know, probably a sweater. So,
well, I have several outfits planned.
Okay. So that says volumes.
No.
Anyway, the point is, come say hi. If you see us out there, we want to talk to you. We will probably come find you if we recognize you from your little thumbnails or if they've met you live before from previous ones. I've only been to the Chicago live event before this, so if you're like, hey, I'm this person, I'm like, oh, I know your name. That'd be great. Even if I don't know your name, come say hi. Come say hi to all of us. We love the fan base. We are so ingrained into it. We are fans at heart. We're just fans with cameras and mics. So,
and I will let you guys know that if I don't think you guys understand, if you've never been to a live event before, I don't think you can possibly understand it as much as you will. Let's put it that way. Like, I want to throw back. I was the only one of us here that was in Houston, as you currently know it. I think I mentioned this before. I think it's the marking point where we became the Action Army 2.0 solidly that day because we were all together, and that was even without anybody here, right? But that's where Jake and I met, and Billy and I, and it became from there. Everything just seemed to just grow in leaps and bounds because it became, instead of just being a group of people who watch the show together or even do podcasts together or talk, it really became some people you know. And then that when he took that next step when we went to New York together, I mean, it was like not even like it was Patch at Houston at that point. We just all immediately fell in together, hung out together. The whole weekend was just more, it was even less about the showdown and more about hanging out with the people we know and love now. So that's the kind of family we offer, and we want you guys to be involved with that as well. We want you to join us that way because we have a ton of fun together. We have a lot of room to spare. There's a family with no limits. Come find us. We will buy you a drink. I mean, everybody, but we'll get you a drink.
I ain't buying anybody any drink. You talk to Paul about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But we'll get to make sure everybody's happy. We'll have a good time together. We love the Schmodown. You guys love the Schmodown. We love these competitors. We love just come find us. We're a good time.
And also, I would be more than happy to talk about Action Cat.
It's true. I wish I could bring Action Cat.
Well, I wish we could just put Action Cat on the camera at any given point.
I mean, let's see if I can get him. No, buddy. No, are you hiding? No. He does not want to be held today.
That's funny. My Action Cat's doing the same thing. Usually, when I broadcast, he comes right up here and starts attacking me.
Why is it so fluffed up, buddy? Why is it so fluffed?
So, anyways,
action mode.
In short, that is us. That is who the Call to Action podcast is. That's dispelling all the behind-the-scenes stuff, kind of giving you a feel for the constant coming and goings of that. And we expect probably even more growth post-spectacular because it's going to get crazy. We're going to see a whole bunch of people. We might make 20 new hosts on that one. We're not going to do that. We already have 2 hosts. Do not volunteer to be a host. We have too many hosts. But
however, we would love to have you back.
Yes. Now,
and yes, I would love competitors. And co-hosts.
Yeah. So now again, this also shows to say that just because you can't be a host doesn't mean that you can't be helping us in the podcast in some way, or we can't be working together as a family, as a community, as everything. So be sure to come say hi, come hang out. We're gonna be there, raging hard. We're gonna be the loud ones. It's hard to miss us.
We will be the loud ones. We always
we
are.
are always loud.
Yeah.
If John Rocca wins, he'll point us out in the acceptance speech. We'll be the ones
sitting down. That's the one time we won't be loud. We'll be loud with our faces.
So I think it's John Rocca. We just walked a lot that day. I don't know. But anyway, that's our show, guys. Paul, where can they catch you and the parts of the show that they should catch you at?
Well, like I said, I'm on Chill definitely every Monday and Tuesday. Or not Monday and Tuesday. I'm wrong already. I'm tired too. Sunday or Monday. And you can also contact me on Twitter. I got that made up already. Look at that. If you want to talk to me. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. I'm on every other show every once in a while as well, but that's the main place you can find me.
Mm-hmm. Kelsey.
All right. Well, on this channel, you can find me on our main podcast on usually Saturdays. We're trying to be regular on Saturdays. Ladies Night is going to be bi-weekly, so we'll see you there. Also, I like to react a lot. I'm one of the first to sign up, so you will see me on there. And if you want to talk to me, you can find me at KelseyKens90 on Twitter and Instagram. Also run the Call to Action podcast Instagram, so you can interact with me there. And TeePublic, they're still having Black Friday sales and stuff. Get your merch. You might not get it in time for Spectacular, but you sure can get it in time for like New York and other shows, and there'll be some of us there. So definitely want to get that.
Alex Mac Daddy herself.
Hey, like I said, I run the Call to Action Twitter page, so definitely follow us there. I would definitely appreciate it, and I'd like to have fun with all you guys. But please like and subscribe to this page in particular, because we do not have enough, and it's hurting my soul. What's up with that? I also, like I mentioned, I do Schmobate, so if you're interested in that, please DM me. I'd appreciate that. Or get in contact with Paul, and he'll put you in the right direction. Look at that.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot. But I'm very in a similar boat as Kelsey. I like to do a lot of stuff with Danny and Kelsey in terms of ladies' night. Obviously, we head honcho that. But also I do quite a bit of reactions myself. But I will be the obnoxious one come Spectacular. Like, I'll already be drunk at 9 a.m. I'll be wearing like a blue velvet jacket. So you can't miss me. It's going to be really interesting. But I digress. And also, Lucas is my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Ben Bateman's best friend.
Ben Bateman's best friend.
Ben Bateman's best friend is my husband. So, just bragging.
And I'm, of course, Dylan Asian Cake Later. Dylan Camacho. You can catch me doing Alex's intervention at Spectacular at 9:01 a.m. because she shouldn't be drunk that soon. You can also catch me hosting our Call to Asian podcast coming back soon, and Hotcakes coming on whenever I decide to throw them onto the grill. You can catch me doing reactions for the rest part of the Spectacular as that's all coming up. But before we go, we got one more thing to tease.
One more thing to tease, and also I also want to mention one more thing too. Danny Coast is our Facebook person for the most part. We do have people on the Facebook. He's the main guy in the chats. Thank you, Danny. Even though you're not on camera as much, we do appreciate everything you do. But that, and our tease is the fact that we are all going to be obviously in LA for the spectacular, so there will be no official chill episode that week. But kind of like this is a unofficial hotcakes episode. There may be a unofficial chill type episode, maybe streaming live from the Action House on Sunday. We're still kind of hammering out some details on that. Hopefully that will happen, and you'll get to see inside us being, loud, obnoxious, and partying and
in the same room.
And all in the same room. So.
Ideally, we would do it Saturday, just because we can catch all of us live, and on Sunday, I'm going to get kicked off a plane for being drunk and disorderly.
That's true, Daddy. Dylan, unfortunately for Dylan, but that's probably going to happen on Sunday at this point. That's what the
no hard feelings, guys. I get it. It's not like, I don't need to be known on this podcast. I don't do anything important.
Well, we might get an appearance. We might get an appearance from Ben and Drew at that point too. We're still working on that. So
cool. Hang out with competitors also. No big deal.
We'll FaceTime you in, Dylan. Don't worry.
We'll FaceTime in.
I'm gonna be asleep at home. But anyway, you don't need to know that far behind the scenes, guys. That's our PSA Service Talk Spectacular announcements, full-on thing. Well, I want to thank everybody on the show. I want to thank all of our viewers soon to be watching. Because we'll be airing this on Wednesday. We recorded ahead of our times, but you didn't know that until just now, did you? Everybody. See you soon.
Yeah. And